All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today we're going to be going over everything that I picked up in the month of May 2023. And considering that April was a relatively small haul, I'm much happier with this. There's a lot of omnibus here, a lot of books, and even some video games. So this is going to be a good haul. Very happy with it. Let's start off with some omnibus because I've got 4 omnibus. Two of them I have done overviews for, and 2 of them I'm going to be making some probably next week. One of them that I haven't even opened up yet is the Mighty Thor Volume 4 from the Silver Age, new to omnibus this year. Glad that they're continuing with the Thor Silver Age books. Eventually we're going to get some 5s and stuff, which is always very nice. I don't know where to put this clearly. Put that over there, make some room here. So another one that we're getting a lot of omnibus lately for is the Incredible Hulk, mainly because of Peter David, and here is Volume 5. We're actually also getting, later on this year, I think in October potentially, Volume 2 from the Silver Age of the Incredible Hulk, which has never been released before, so that's really exciting. And we're also getting, I think there's a Maestro Peter David Hulk book, the Immortal Hulk. They're doing quite a few things with Hulk, which just makes me extremely happy because he was my favorite superhero back in the 90s when I was growing up. He's still up there for me now, but yeah, just very happy. He's a nostalgic character for me. Another one that I got to do an overview for, still in the seal as well, is The Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 2 reprint. Yeah, we'll go over this when we actually do the overview for that. And last but not least, in terms of omnibus, because there's too much stuff here, these are all the books that we're going to be talking about in a second here as well, is Spider-Man 2099. Just did an overview of this behemoth book. I think a lot of people are very excited for this. And Spider-Man, Marvel has been really on, like, the last few years have been great, and this year almost feels like it's an even better year. Kind of. Yeah, it's got to be up there. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they're pumping out, and I'm very happy for that. Now, let's go into video games before we go into books, because I did get the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. I believe it's the Collector's Edition for Tears of the Kingdom, and I just picked out 2 things here. The Steelbook, which is kind of, I'm not too excited about, but the game itself. And I'm glad that in the Collector's Edition, we got a Steelbook and an actual physical copy of the regular game. That's, as a collector, this is exactly what I want. So I just want to talk a little bit about this because I am very much enjoying this. I have 50 shrines at the moment. I want to go for the dungeons at this point in time. And then I think I'm going to beat the game and then just slowly go through all the other shrines that exist in this game. For Breath of the Wild, just to give you an idea, I had put 90 hours into that game and I got all 120 shrines. Beat the game, all the dungeons, all that kind of stuff. I didn't get all the armor sets and I didn't get all the Korok seeds. I can't remember. I probably had 150 Korok seeds or something. Maybe 200, but I don't think I actually breached that number. So for this, I don't really care about how many Korok seeds I get. Don't care about the armor necessarily, but I would like to get all of the shrines later on, but it's going to be once I beat the game. I'll just slowly go into it here and there. Let's talk about some other games. One of them, I don't think I had put it in a pickups video, and I still want to do an unboxing of this just for fun, and that is the Tales of to Azure. So Legend of Heroes. This is a continuation of Tales from Zero, which is like their own duology that happens in the middle of the Trails in the Sky series and the Trails of Cold Steel. And later on this year, I think like in July, we're actually getting the Trails into Reverie. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm not 100% certain, but that's going to be the conclusion of essentially the Trails from Zero and Azure. And I can't remember, I don't know if they're the Crossbell. I can't remember exactly what they're called. Yeah, the Crossbell duology and the Cold Steel series. It's kind of like the mixture of all of them. So it's great that, like, this is a crazy big turn-based RPG, JRPG series that have their own separate series within the series, an overarching series that all comes together in the end. It's fantastic. Like, you're getting characters from the Trails in the Sky series, the Crossbell duology, and whatever the Cold Steel series is called, all together it's it's awesome. I really like how big this world is, and if you play all of them, it's very daunting. Don't get me wrong, but it's quite fun. And I've only played Trails from Zero, Trails into Zero, Trails to Zero, Trails from Zero. I can't remember what it's called. Either way, very excited about that too. And another two games that I picked up just because I saw that they were a little bit cheap. Well, Octopath Traveler 2 had dropped $20, so I picked it up. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3 had dropped $10. Not crazy big sales at all, but I did want to get these because these, I feel sometimes they can kind of go up. Well, Octopath I think would just keep going down, but Xenoblade has a chance of going up if they run out of stock. Now we can talk about the books, and there's quite a few books here that I'm really excited for that I'm going to be reading very soon that I am reading right now. And then there's some books that it's going to take me a while to get to, but one of them that I'm extremely happy to have is the Necronomicon by, which is the best weird tales of H.P. Lovecraft. I mean, this is one of the biggest influential authors for horror at the first 50 years of the 1900s. I can't remember exactly when he was around, 1920s and 1930s probably. But Stephen King loves Lovecraft, and this is where Cthulhu comes from. And there's quite a few different tales as well that I know that have influences on basically modern horror to this day probably. So very excited to get into this, and this looks absolutely gorgeous. I probably will do an overview of this in the next little while. And I mean, I love that. One that I've started and I was hoping to finish at the very end of May, but I didn't get to. So I'm going to be doing a TBR for June and a what I read in the month of May as well. But I was hoping to finish this by the end of May. I'm almost halfway through. So this is called Ascension by Nicholas Binge, and I just want to binge this book. I started it a few days ago. I started on the 29th, I believe. I didn't get a chance to read it today yet, but I love this. This is my kind of sci-fi mystery. It's still set. It's set in today's world, but I'm absolutely loving this. A mountain just randomly shows up, I think in the ocean, and they bring in some scientists to try to figure out what's going on with this mountain. And they have to climb, they have to ascend this massive mountain, and they're just weird stuff is going on. And it's so interesting to the people that went on the first ascension, to the for what's actually on the mountain in terms of so much. There's it's a lot of fun, and I'm very much intrigued. I want to know what's going on here. That's if it continues on its way, that might be one of my favorite novels of the year. Another one that literally just came out and I just got a few days ago is The Witch King by Martha Wells, new fantasy book for 2023. So I'm looking forward to this. This is another book that I'm hoping to start in the next little while. Then I've got the last two things here, and they're sequels, and I didn't know that they were sequels. I probably should have done a little bit more research, but oh well. I saw the look of them and they looked interesting, so I ordered them. And they were on technically some kind of sale that was happening on Indigo as well, so that's why I picked them up. But I had recently read a Kelly Armstrong book. I have no idea where it is. I don't even remember what it's called. I could probably open it up. And they're going to have probably a bunch of Murder at Haven's Rock. That was my first novel from Kelly Armstrong. And while I don't think I talked about it on this channel yet, but I really enjoyed the creepy vibes to it for a murder mystery out in the woods in northern Canada. Very much enjoyed that. The actual reveal of what the mystery and everything was just okay. I very much enjoyed the feel and atmosphere and the vibe that was kind of going on while they were trying to figure it out, and it was just really creepy things that were happening at night. It wasn't even that crazy. It's just it was really well written for that kind of mystery and thriller type novels and feels that I want. So I got a lot of that. It's just that the actual mystery itself was just okay. This is her other book that she wrote this year. She might even have a third coming out. I can't remember. This is at least her second novel for 2023. And this is The Poisoner's Ring. This is a sequel to a Rip Through Time novel and I don't know what it's a sequel to. So this is the second book, though. What it is, it's a modern investigator travels through time to the late 1800s, I believe. And that's the first novel, and this is the sequel to it. So I want to read the first one before I would dive into this. I don't know if this is exactly going to be my cup. I just saw that Kelly Armstrong had a book. It was on sale. At the time I was reading Murder at Havens Rock, so I decided to pick it up. I should have looked to see that it was a sequel, and I just figured that it was another. I mean, I guess I could have figured out that it was 1800s if I really looked at the cover. I didn't. It was enough for me to. The blue and red contrast kind of intrigued me. It was Kelly Armstrong who was on sale. I added it to the cart. But now it just makes me want to go and read the first book to kind of see. But that could be interesting. A modern investigator gets sent back in time, and they have all of this knowledge, but don't necessarily have the technology, but they have the mind of a modern investigator and a modern person. So it'd be interesting to see what Kelly Armstrong would bring to that. Anyway, last but not least is Pete Robinson's Standing in the Shadows, which is an Inspector Banks novel. And Inspector Banks has, look at this. I didn't actually start it. I just put my receipt in there, kind of thing. Look at that. That's all Inspector Banks. Oh, what did I do? It looked so. I can't even remember. I think there's some kind of. In November 1980, student Nick Hartley returns from a lecture to find his house full of police and officers. After he discovers that his ex-girlfriend has been found murdered in a nearby park and her new boyfriend is missing, he realizes two things in quick succession. He is undoubtedly a suspect, as he has no convincing alibi, and he has his own suspicions as to what might have happened. I was intrigued. I think that this guy might be Canadian as well. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that he's Canadian. So I generally try to support Canadian authors, just because sometimes they a lot of times they'll actually write in as if the story is happening in Canada, and it just feels a little bit closer to home, because it is home. I don't know where like it's people that live in a specific country support people in the same country. I mean, that's just common knowledge. You don't have to explain that, Kyle. It doesn't need an explanation. Anyway, that's everything. So I don't know if I'm going to read this right away. I think I would like to probably pick up at least one of the previous novels. So it looks like the first one is Gallows View. So maybe read that one and then I could dive into this one. I mean, they write these stories so you don't really have to have any previous knowledge most of the time to these. Like when it's a mystery or thriller novel, it's very rare that they're actually connected in a big way. Sometimes they are, but it's fairly rare, very rare. And I don't think that this looked like it was part of a massive series that was continuing ongoing arc. There might be one, villain that's constantly eluding, or a mystery that's eluding this investigator. But either way, that's everything that I picked up for the month of May. We can stop talking now. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting through a lot of this stuff and continuing on where I was. So some unboxings in the next, or an overviews for the 2 omnibus, an unboxing probably of Trails to Azure. I'm going to be doing a TBR and a What I Read in May. I'm also going to be doing a review of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And that's everything that I can think of off the top of my head. So thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in Beardage.